Hi, this is the Social Jello with Angelo show. My name's Angelo. I'm a social scientist, surfer, martial artist, and a whole lot of other things. Coming to you live from Kasai City, Japan, the Social Jello with Angelo show.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of Social Jello with Angelo podcast. Today I'm here with Claude Lawson, Carlos De La Valle, and Kyle. I'm going to mess up your last name. Kyle, can you hear me? So Kyle's here, kind of. I'll just say that right off the bat. His internet.
I hear every other sentence like half
there.
There
he is. There he is.
Can you hear nothing? And then just smile. Because I assumed.
Yes.
I assumed the conversation. Okay, good.
Yeah, we can hear you. Carl Rozewski coming out of the name of your MMA gym out there is Animal MMA. Is that right? Let the delay go.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So there it is. And this is the panel that we're talking about. So you saw the title, Pyramid Schemes in Martial Arts. So what's this concept? So some schools, and I'm not going to mention any names here, just to be careful, because the example I'm about to give you is my personal experience, but I've seen it in several different schools. It's not just this one school. So it would be unfair to put this school on blast for the way they do things. Because after looking into it, I found out that even with the school that I'm about to talk to you about, this did not happen, even though they're an internationally known school, this doesn't happen internationally. So this particular school decided to go this route. So here's the story. The way this school runs is that they're ran by a large organization. I'll be specific, give a few more insights. They're ran by a large JiuJitsu organization that's pretty world renowned. But as you know, everyone can kind of run their business however they want. So they came out to Japan, they established their first school, and then from there they established many satellite schools in the process. Now, what's happening with this particular school is the way they run things is the person on the top, I'm already making a pyramid, the person on the top started the school and gets their black belts. Not just black belts, colored belts when they first came out to Japan. The colored belts have to pay the instructor to teach at the school. So if you're a blue belt, you test for your blue belt test. There's two types of things. You pay your regular monthly fees, and then you pay an extra licensing fee to be able to teach at this school. So from there, they pay a yearly fee to the head instructor to be able to be certified. I'm not going to mention the certification, again, to save kind of the names, not to put anybody on blast. But this fee goes to this instructor, and the instructor pays the head of the organization back in the U.S. this fee for that they charge the schools for this instructor's program. This continues all the way into black belt, and then once you get your black belt, you still continually pay these fees to the person on the top of this pyramid. I mean, I'm not going to fucking hide that part. To me, it's a pyramid scheme. When I explain this to my wife, who doesn't do martial arts, she's like, that sounds like a pyramid scheme. Like if you look at how Mary Kay or Avon or Amway works, it's very similar. One person has a product, that person gets to sell the product, and the product we're talking about is martial arts. They're teaching martial arts, so that's your product. It's information technology. They're selling this information, and the person at the top of this gets most of the money, and then everybody else gets paid a little less. Oh, by the way, one more thing to this whole instructor's program is the person pays that money and is told, don't worry, you're technically going to get paid to work for us. So it's not like you paid for it, because we're going to pay you when you teach. But then they proceed to pay them minimum wage. So the hours they put in, they'll probably spend the first, depending on how much work they put in, how much time they can put in, they'll spend the first 6 months trying to pay off that licensing fee, which was like $200, because they're paying them like $10 an hour. And depending on how many people are coming in, they're teaching maybe once or twice a week. That's like $10, $20 a pop. So, you're going to have to teach at least 10 lessons before you get that money back. So that's how that works. Now the next part is, as you rank up, you get paid a little more than minimum wage. And apparently eventually you'll get to like, I don't know, 15 to $20 an hour when you're a black belt. And then the next part of this, the way this system works, is when you want to open a new school, you're allowed to open a new school at brown belt. So the rules are at brown belt, you can petition to open your own school under this instructor who's working under this bigger organization in the United States. You open your new school, but you can't set anything up yourself. Everything must go through the person who is certifying you at the top, who you already paid your certification fee with that license fee that we're talking about. And now any mats, mitts, gis, all equipment must be purchased through their supplier. And the supplier, I talked to one of the brown belts when I first joined this school, because he asked me, hey, you're opening a school, how much did the mats cost you? Like, I'm not using the really fancy mats, but I have a pretty big space. So I found a pretty good supplier that has the tatami rubber puzzle mats. So they're not the best, but they're pretty good. And I made sure they were thick enough that people could do grappling on it and not get injured. And I found a pretty good setup for what I have, which is about a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about 100 yards by, it's about 50 yards square foot, right? We'll just say that 50 yards square foot, around there. It's a pretty big space. And I got it for about $5,000. He had to pay for a 25, like much smaller space. Like we're talking like the size of an office space, which is probably like 100 square feet, maybe 200 square feet, maybe less, right? It's smaller than my place. And he had to spend $15,000 from their supplier. Right.
Where was this place?
This place is in Japan.
Say again, I'm sorry.
It's in Japan. The school that I'm talking about is in Japan.
Okay.
So
and where was your school?
Oh, my school's in Japan also. We're both in Japan.
Okay.
Okay. So
all right, well, I'm trying to think about it, like, because where I'm from too. I mean, I was shocked at the price of a gym in Ohio compared to a gym in Shanghai. It's not even night and day. It's not even in the same realm. It's unbelievable. So I just wanted to make sure that perhaps it was not
an economic thing. Yeah, no, it's not. We're talking about, I'm in Japan, so economics are straight here. I'm here. He's
okay. Apologies.
We have access to the same thing. The reason he was spending an extra $10,000 and he wanted to use my supplier. He's like, I really want to use your supplier. Like, you found a cheaper supplier. And I'm like, why don't you? He's like, because I am not allowed to, because the instructor that runs everything has to run through him. And if I don't do things the way he says, I can no longer use the branding that's behind this big school.
That's the key word.
So, yeah. And then one more thing that happened. When this brand came to Japan, those schools already existed. There were already these schools here, and they pretty much strong-armed them and said, we outrank you. And either you do things under us now, or you got to take that brand off, because we have close connections to the person on the top. And we're going to say that you're not running things the way you should, because this is how you're supposed to run things. So a lot of schools that were already open shut down and just said, fine, we're not going to use the branding. We're just teaching regular Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We're not teaching that type of Jiu-Jitsu anymore. So long story short, I knew all this stuff coming in, and I ended up leaving early because of it, because I started getting close to brown belt, and I'm like, uh-oh, I know what this is. This is definitely, for me, in my opinion, a pyramid scheme. And I'm not mentioning the name of the school, because there are many schools that run their way. They run their schools this way. The head instructor will pay a minimal or nothing to their coaches coming up. And they'll use the idea that rank, especially if we're talking about belt ranks, white to whatever before black, that you should, and I kind of agree with that, white to whatever, you got to earn your stripes, right? But I guess my biggest qualm for me is once you hit black, you're a black belt now. This is what is this? I'm going to keep paying you for the rest of my life? I don't know. And that's where I'm going to grab this conversation. And we're going to start off with Carlos, because Carlos had a lot of information that he talked about earlier. We talked off camera. So I'm just going to hand this over to Carlos, and just, what do you think?
So I'm a person, so I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years of my life. I was active duty. So I'm all about having uniformity and having structure and having order. Some people, they lose their minds when that stuff comes about. They're like, oh, what do you mean I can't wear the uniform that I want? when that comes up, I give them a real quick example. I'm like, when you get a professional baseball team like the New York Yankees, do they wear what they want, or is everybody dressed the same? Everybody wears the same thing, right? Football team, rugby team, no matter, the All Blacks, they're all wearing a specific uniform. When they hit that field, they're wearing that uniform. All Blacks, you know who they are. So people have a big thing with the uniformity thing, whatever, and rules. People have a thing with rules, and they want to defy rules. And the new thing now is people like, oh, why do we have to bow? Well, because we're honoring our roots, which is, Japan. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu evolved in Japan. Why can't we give 2 seconds of our time to face the masters and just do a quick bow? That's all it is. And I explain to people, we're not worshiping anybody. It's just like shaking hands and say, hey, I acknowledge you. I acknowledge the traditions. That's all we're doing. People lose their minds over it. What do you mean I have to bow? I have to bow. It takes 2 seconds. 2 seconds. But people don't get it. But some people get carried away. Like you were telling me your stories and stuff like that. You have to do things a certain way. You have to do things. It sounded kind of like you were in a concentration camp. I'm like, that's not how we run things over here. Like it's a structure. We do things a certain way. Because we follow the specific organization that we're talking about, things have to be done a certain way, but it's not the way we run it here is not the way you explained it to me that's ran over there. We're human about it. We're like, hey, it's more like a team, family thing. Like we have to do our instructor courses and all that. But everything's paid for. They pay for us. We don't have to pay anything. They pay for us. They pay the instructors to do it. We get paid. It's always been a brotherhood, very accepting. You have a lot of badass guys that teach over here. One of our head instructors, an MMA fighter. The other one's a Division III wrestler. I was in the Marine Corps judo team. So you have legit guys teaching here, top-notch guys and stuff like that. But we don't treat anybody like with the crazy stories that you were telling us over there. Like, you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's like, I'm like, what are they doing over there? Like, they trying to they want to teach their way. But yeah, but it's like a concentration camp. Yeah, it has to be done this way, or if not, you're out of here. Who does that? Like, that's crazy to me.
I had to use the fist, not the open hand, because I don't want to pull it off of YouTube.
Yeah, the way you described it to me, it's very so martial arts should be an environment where you go to release stress, not to be stressed in. If I'm gonna go to do my martial arts and be like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't wear this hoodie, I can't wear this. You out of your mind? Like what? Like, I already follow all these rules. Now you're telling me how to live? Because then again, I bring it back to a professional team, right? If you want me to do things the way you want, now you got to pay me, right? Because when a scout goes to get a player, right, when they go to high schools, when they go to colleges, all right, you're gonna do things the way the team wants, but they're paying that person. It's not. You're not gonna recruit me and then I gotta pay you to do the things you want. That's insane to me. Like, no, dude, I'm a grown adult. No. No, if you want me to only represent you and do things your way, then you gotta pay me. But that's the way that you were explaining it to me. Like, I'm like, no, you're a grown man with a wife and kids. Like, no. But some people do get out of hand like that with that, and that makes you feel uncomfortable. You should be going to your martial arts school and feeling comfortable. Like, this is my getaway. Like, what do you mean I can't wear Adidas? I gotta wear Pumas only? Like, what are you talking about? So it's a little bizarre to me. It's a little bizarre.
All right, and we're gonna pass this on with a lot of patience over to Kyle.
I agree with a lot that Carlos just said. I mean, whether any of us care to admit it or not, we are all part of the jiu-jitsu and martial arts culture. And we pay into that the moment we start. The first half of that word culture is cult. Like, we have to realize this. Like, to whatever level you're dedicated to it, you're part of a cult. You're absolutely part of it. Now, this means, in my opinion anyway, that everybody has the same goal in your cult. And that's to improve. BJJ is one of the better cultures that I've been a part of. For everything I've been involved with in martial arts in my life, this one, there's a big sense of brotherhood, a big sense of community. When you walk into a gym and you know it's your gym at that point, when you get to be a blue belt, everybody's friends. You know what I mean? Like everybody goes out. There's that pecking order, inside of the gym that everybody has to get over socially. That's one thing, and that's why I think that's expected in every single culture that you're in. But it becomes a cult when you have to buy, like you were saying, like the branding part of it. Like that's ridiculous to me. If you're in class and you have a gi on, yeah, rep your logo, rep your school, all that stuff. But the moment I walk out of there, that sounds like Cobra Kai to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't like walk around the mall. Oh, bro, what logo you got on? Like, what shoes like? Nah, man. I bought what I wanted to with the money I made. So I also think,
Right.
I like with the spotty reception I haven't heard the term belt mills yet. But I feel like the belt mill is what actually churns the pyramid that we're talking about, and that starts down low. There's dudes who will roll for 6 years, never get promoted. And then there's people that are there for 2 months and all of a sudden they're at the front of the class. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what happened with there? Like, I've been watching this guy get smashed, but then all of a sudden he maybe has easier partners. And then a year later, he's teaching. But he's teaching what he's told to teach, not necessarily what is working or what is valid. And that's when people start leaving your school. And they might have a nice franchise start getting set up and all this branding happening because this person is particularly popular, a certain demographic, but in my experience, that demographic is not the people who get the black belt and are legit black belts. Those aren't the people who walk into another school and you're proud, like, yeah, that's my student. You're like, oh shit, I hope this guy's rolling anybody when he goes. Like, I hope he just goes and talks to people and sits in the corner. So I mean, like that's why I think the pyramids are starting to be more popular, is with the belt mill boom, if you want to call it that, of like 8 to 10 years ago, I would say. Remember, there was like everybody was a blue belt all of a sudden, and it's just like, what happened? You started 2 weeks ago, bro. Like, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, that's my opinion on it. Is it does exist, and I think it just comes with the monetization of the sport. As soon as it started becoming something that could be profited from, pyramids happen, belt mills happen, and that's where we're at.
All right, Claude.
It makes sense. It makes sense because, and you're right, with the belt promotions and stuff. I'm an old school martial artist. I've been doing this stuff for 42 years, and now I'm hearing people, oh, when do I get my stripe? Like, why are you asking for promotion?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
All the people tell me, like, coach, if you give me a belt fight, I'll be in there to train every day. No, you won't.
Yeah.
No, you won't.
Yeah, yeah. No,
for the from the cult I came in, I never asked. The people that did, I did see ask. My instructor would be like, all right, go and spar so and see how it goes. And then and when we're talking about sparring, we're not talking about BJJ anymore. We're talking about Kajikembo, so we're talking more like MMA sparring. So you go pretty much get your ass handed to you, and then you're like, well, how do you feel that went? And there was a rare occasion where maybe you kept up, and then it would be acknowledged. Hey, you know what? Maybe we're going to consider you because you actually did hold your own. But that hardly ever happened. It was usually it was usually you just got your ass. Just get your ass kicked, and then you wouldn't bring that up ever again. So, Claude, what are your thoughts on all this, man?
Let me piggyback on what you just said. I was a part of a couple of those where guys asked for rank, and it was like, this guy, oh, you ready for the next rank? Is Claude and so pat up, and it didn't go well. It didn't go well at all. So you learn, especially coming from college, with certain systems, that you don't ask for rank. That's the traditional way, and it's also a way. How do you know where you're at? We all think we're better than we are at some point in our lives. But going back to the pyramid scheme with what you were talking about, that's insane. But two planes of thought there. I understand schools or organizations wanting to have their schools have certain types of mats, have certain uniformity, and that the curriculums are the same, so that anybody from a certain school can go anywhere and travel anywhere in the world and learn the exact same thing, and they don't feel like they fell behind, or they're trying to catch up and learn something that is completely different than what they did. Yeah. So I understand that portion of it. I haven't seen where people inside a school pay to teach. And then they don't have their own school. I've seen people they go out as brown belts or black belts, and they have their own clubs or schools or what have you, and they pay something to the main organization to carry the logo, to have the mats, and they buy everything from that organization. And usually it's at a discounted price, not at full price.
Yeah, it's bringing the brand into marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand. Yeah, I understand the branding and all that. But what you're talking about is in a completely different realm. It seems like they're just trying to make money. They're not worried about, they're doing the branding, but they're not worried about the well-being of the students or anything else. They're just trying to make money.
That's
I've
crazy.
never seen that before. That's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And you know what it is? They know how to take advantage of certain people because
Yep.
they don't know how to ask questions. They're not educated like we are. So
Right.
they're like, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a grown-ass man. I have to do what? Like, no, like it becomes different when you know the questions, when you have the answers.
Exactly. And see, I'm with you too. Military, I did 26 years in the Air Force. Marines, we used to get you guys there. But it's the uniformity and you feel like, belonging to a club, belonging to a brotherhood or sisterhood or whatever, but you ride together, you roll together, and you feel like you belong to something, especially if the morality and all that good stuff is there and the instructor's a good instructor and you got good people around you. But I understand about the cult portion of, because you are in a sense joining a cult, but there are extremes, and it seems like this is a definite extreme. And I don't see it prospering, to be honest with you. Well, everybody at the top is getting paid. These guys don't have a choice, but I have a feeling a bunch of them down the road, as they become more educated, they're going to wind up leaving.
Well, here's the crazy thing, though, and maybe this is a Japan thing. Japan loves brands. They love brands. They love being part of brands. They're very into. And I know Japanese and Chinese culture can be similar on this one, Kyle, and you can mention this right after I'm done here. But in Japan, it's not uncommon to see someone start something like BJJ and immediately buy the top best brand gi that it's hands on. They'll get all their gear. It'll be all brand name gear, sanctioned. They'll do their research, make sure it's all from the UFC. If it's Venom, they're really about branding.
It's horrible here. And I hate to even put it that way, but it's almost like they're trying to gain credibility through exclusivity, but they're buying their exclusivity. That's what it is. It's like, oh man, look at my new Hayabusa gear. Look at this like a VTHS, like Nogi stuff. Like I was like, bro, you own a Taobao app. You can buy this for like $2. No, it's cool. I got this one. It's like, okay, all right. Then you go and watch them roll, and like they like fall on their face. They're on a double leg entry. It's just, man, why not pay that money for lessons instead of a piece of cloth? I don't understand that, and that's huge here. That's very prevalent in this culture, and I know it is in America as well. But I feel like here more so, like they're paying for that exclusivity. Like you might be a member of this club and you might even pay for your belt in some situations, but you can't go anywhere else. You can't actually take that somewhere else and be proud of it. Honestly, like I got my black belt here and in BJJ, and I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I'm like, man, I'm proud and all this stuff now, but like, do I deserve it? Do I really want this? And I was talking to somebody else, like, that's how you know. That's how you know you deserve it, because you're worried about that stuff. It's not like, when do I get it? Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, so I
feel better about that.
Yeah, I'm still a brown belt, and someone asked me the other day, they're like, oh, so when you get your black belt? I'm like, you know what? I'm just totally at this point. I could be a brown belt for the rest of my life, and I'm totally okay being right up brown. It's not going to change. I mean, the only thing that's going to happen is more put in, but my association fees, everything I do will be exactly the same. So at this point,
you don't need to.
My goal is accomplished. I can teach my students. My students can rank under the association I'm in. I'm not tied to that pyramid anymore, and I'm so happy about that. But I'm happy right here, man, and I'm in the same position as you. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm always doubting myself at this point.
No, you're good. You are good. You're good. You're good. You know what? Because a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like when you get to that stage with traditional arts like Kajukembo or karate, whether it be Kyokushin or Shotokan, you get to like a 5th degree, 6th degree. Now it's just time and grade. You already know your material. You're just waiting for that next belt. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is now. Like you're a brown belt, dude. When I was when BJJ first came to the States, like 20, 25 years ago, to see a brown belt was like seeing a great grandmaster in Kajukembo.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was like, oh shit, I'm on the same mats as a brown belt. There's a brown belt here, but it's not special anymore because it's all over the place. You see all these black belts, all these brown belts. I'm like, dude, what is that? You used to see like two. There used to be like two. You were like, oh shit, look who it is. Look, like when Andre Galvao was
UFC
a brown
champion
belt,
used to be blue belts.
It was
yeah,
like,
exactly.
wow.
They did blue and purple belts. Yep.
Yep.
So back to that one part that we were talking real quick. So about the branding, I was talking about how they always try to go after that. And then we were saying it wouldn't be successful, but here's the thing, and that's why I'm doing this episode. They recently announced now they have 22 schools across Japan, right? So it is successful for them. This marketing thing is successful to them, and it's working to a certain degree because they'll always have somebody who is okay with that. They'll always have a black belt or a brown belt who is okay with the way the system is being ran. They'll just buy in because, again, if I switch off my mentality, after they initially pay all that money, it's a really huge startup fund, right? It costs a lot of money to start up. And they end up grabbing people who are already successful in business. A lot of these guys have already done well in business in Japan, and they're kind of getting ready to leave whatever their office job is. So they invest a bunch of money. Then they start their school. They automatically have the brand behind them. Like Kyle was saying, in China and Japan, people love the brand. They come into the brand, and then they really don't care how many black belts they produce. They care more about how many people can they get in and out of that door to pay back all that money. And then in the process, because they are very good at indoctrinating their students, because whoever starts, hey, Amway, Mary Kay, why do you recognize these names? Even though we all agree, Amway got sued several times by several countries for running pyramid schemes. Nothing stopped them. The guy who started Amway talks about that in his book, and he's talks about in his book how he's a successful billionaire. So obviously, this style of business, as much as I hate it from a business standpoint and from a martial artist standpoint, is working for them. So
what you just said, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what you just said, that's the difference. You are now describing entrepreneurs. You aren't describing martial artists anymore. And the thing that sucks is there's entrepreneurs in martial arts, which we all take in a very different light. We look out a different window at this than they do. And the problem is maybe we all start in that same window looking at it, this is my martial art, this is what I want to do. But maybe I can make money, and now you're at that different window. So you're no longer a martial artist to me. You're a dude trying to make a buck off some blood. That's way different. You're a fight promoter. You're no longer a fighter. That's way different.
Completely different. Well, Angela, let me ask you a question. Is this school or this organization prominent overseas, or is it prominent also? Is it also prominent in the States?
Oh, this is a huge international organization.
Huge, okay. Because I was thinking culturally, because in Japan, especially, the respect and honor for the martial arts and where these people are coming from, especially if they're high ranking, I could see them being more predisposed to follow this type of pyramid scheme in order to carry the name and the respect that they feel that they're getting behind it. I understand it, so I'm thinking it's a perfect place to get it going. But if it's in other locations, I'm really kind of baffled how this is actually working and people are falling for it. I understand paying. You open a school and as an instructor, you pay something back to the main organization to carry the name, the branding, and all that other good stuff, uniforms, but it would be usually at a discounted price or wholesale price or what have you. And you grow the organization that way. But the way you're describing it is completely a different way. I don't even understand how that's working. I don't see how that's working. And how are the individual instructors making money?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you right now, because the organization that Angelo's talking about, I belong to also. And I think the problem is the head instructor of his specific school is running things a little different. Because in my school, we don't run things like that. You would love where I'm at. It's a brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's telling me stories, and I'm like, what?
So that's why you're in such disbelief.
Yeah, so I'm like, so we ordered our match. We just remodeled our school, and we bought from a good place. They didn't break our pockets, and we added the logos that we wanted. Okay, but they didn't tell us you have to buy from a specific spot. You know, you
That's the
have
way
to
it
buy
should
them
be.
from here. It seems like somebody has a connection somewhere, and they're trying to help this person make money also.
They're getting a
You know
cut
what I'm saying?
somewhere.
But
Somebody's getting a
the thing that
cut.
we
Oh,
do,
absolutely,
yeah, the
absolutely.
thing that we do at our gym is we honor, you know, what the organization, we honor them, but they don't tell us, hey, you can't buy from this spot, you know, save yourself, you know, $5,000. As you know, we have their name up, everything's done professionally, we wear the uniforms, you know, but we're not telling you, hey, you can't wear that. That's a used uniform. You can't wear that. You bought that used from somebody. You have to be brand new from our school. No, man, no, it's not. I don't. He told me some stories, and my head was about to blow up. I was like, it was.
I haven't heard that to that degree out here, but I have heard that like your belts. Let's say you were at a jiu-jitsu school on Main Street, and you went all the way to purple, but then you go to a jiu-jitsu school on Main Street South. You know, not the same lineage, but you obviously like you may have won 100 tournaments, but you got to pay for your rank. Like if you go in, you either go in as a white belt, or you got to pay the purple belt fee, whatever your ranking is, to maintain that. So it's like your college credits don't go over unless you're going to the right. You know what I mean? It's like,
And see, those things are bizarre to me. That's just people
That's
making
crazy.
money. That's just
Yeah,
people
that's
making
exactly what
money.
it is.
Yeah, and if
well,
you
whenever
don't know
I hear
how
that
to ask
stuff,
questions,
it's funny.
yeah, if you don't know
That's
how
a
to
money
ask the
grab.
right
That's
questions,
a complete money
yeah, they'll
grab.
play you. You get played. You get played. It's like a guy, a player, right? The guy that knows how to talk good to the girls, he's
Right.
gonna get the girls, right? As opposed to the dude that's like, and the girl's like, dude, this guy's corny,
The thing I love
and they
though,
leave. You know, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
but it's like 5-6 years from now, you check the local jiu-jitsu tournaments or all like the national regionals or whatever. Those golden boys are at the top right now are always at the bottom of the barrel in like just a few years time. It doesn't take long at all, and all of their students, the one who actually are doing the right thing, are at the first school kicking the shit out of this new school. And it's like, well, what did you expect? What did you expect? You're trying to buy your way to the top without any hard work, and then all of a sudden these people grind are just throwing you around. No shit.
Exactly.
So we're getting ready to wrap up here. But before we do wrap up, I guess one last question I want to ask, and I'm going to turn this straight over to Kyle, because Kyle's you retired recently, right, man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, last August.
So Kyle is a retired professional MMA fighter, and he fights over. Yeah, congratulations on your retirement, man. Hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
But he's retired, but he's still working. if I don't,
You
Kyle...
can never retire from it. You can never retire. No, that's the biggest lie we tell ourselves. Like, I'm gonna retire. Nah, no, we're not.
But so I'm gonna turn this last element of this question over to Kyle first. Kyle, do you think this might be related to the actual rank system itself? Do you think that a pyramid scheme can render itself in MMA? Have you seen it play out that way in your experience?
No, absolutely. I mean, prime example. Look at Aljamain Sterling and Merab right now. All the way to this point. You know what I mean? Like Merab was number 2 dude in the world for a long time, just because his boy got there first, kind of thing. And it's not. Maybe it's not completely, I guess, tangent to what you're saying, but it's just who is there first and who offers more to your school. You know what I mean? Even if it's not the best guy, even if it's not your most talented student, who offers the most to the school. And as we alluded to before, you know, Carlos is talking about the pretty boys and all that stuff. Like I've been in gyms on teams where the pretty boy comes in, he gets ranked up quicker than that ugly dude or quicker than that girl who's not fit or whatever, even though they're piecing him up. And I do think that is, when you see that, that's like an early red flag to, you know, like, this is not a dojo. This is a supermarket. You know, right. Like people are just coming in here. They're paying for the ingredients to make whatever meal they deem fit. But I don't know, man. Like being somebody who has fought and has competed, like where that stuff gets tested, it's just always been a very, very one-minded thing for me. Like, I'm very unidirectional with this. Like I'm learning to get better so I can use it when I compete. I'm going to get tested on it. That's it. So when I go to all these places and people are buying these belts and these rankings and all these, you know, accreditations, it's just like, what good is my sport anymore? You know, like how much is left? So I'm very much, I thought it was super cool when you came up with this subject to me, and I couldn't wait to touch in on it, man. So thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure to meet you guys as well. See some educated, experienced men showing some great opinions. So thank you.
It's a pleasure, my brother.
So how about you, Carlos? What do you think? Same question. Do you think this is a belt rank thing, an MMA thing, a martial arts thing? Is it more prevalent in a traditional
What I
ranking
think,
system?
so my opinion on this is people don't know how to ask the right questions. People are just, you know, if they have people like, everybody needs a guide, right? So for me, so Angelo knows my background, right? I study Kaju I'm like doing hardcore research in different lineages because not every style of Kaju is the same, right? You see some styles of Kaju they look like Kung Fu. Some styles of Kaju look like hardcore karate. Some styles of Kaju look like, you know, they're different, right? You even have Kaju Scream out there, which is a weaponized style of Kaju right? And but I wanted to do that and research so I could be able to have my own opinion. But people don't do that. So they don't know the questions to ask, right? And the same thing with BJJ. You know, I know all these people. I've been doing BJJ for like 25 years. You know, my son grew up at the school, you know, since he started when he was 4. He's 20 now. He's off to college. But we've been in the environment. We've seen the business aspect of it, and we know the questions to ask. A lot of people don't. So they get caught up in all these things. They don't know. They're like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I know a lot of people, like, remember the people that say, oh, I do UFC. Dude, UFC is not a martial art. It's a fight organization. You have Pride. You have ONE FC. You have these organizations, but they're just UFC down the gym from me, right? And there's still people now in 2024 that will say that, oh, I do UFC. Oh, my teammates are fighting tonight. They'll say that because they belong to the UFC gym and they wear the UFC shirt. It's hysterical. They say that, yeah. Oh, you know, but the thing is that they're not educated. So I think education is a big part of this pyramid thing, you know. And I think a lot of people are getting played because they don't know that they don't know the answers to it.
Well, I'm going to capitalize this on this real quick before Claude says anything. If you'd like a black belt in UFC, contact me, thesocialjello@gmail.com. Let's set you up.
Yeah. It's crazy that it's 2024 and people still say that. Oh, I do UFC.
Whatever price you got, I'm going to beat it. I hate that make cheap weird.
We can run a pyramid scheme on it now.
Yeah, no joke.
All right, Claude.
Okay, so repeat the question, man, because
the question is this something that's prevalent in traditional martial arts with a ranking system, and because MMA doesn't have that, or do you think this is just prevalent everywhere?
I think it's random. And like Carlos said, it's people, educated people asking the right questions. But I've seen grappling schools or jiu-jitsu schools where they don't run like no gi. They don't necessarily run belt ranks. They run sort of like titles, you know. You have straight jiu-jitsu schools that are all no gi. Dave Terrell, which I trained there for quite a few years, is the first black belt of Cesar Gracie's. They don't wear belts, but there's no pyramid scheme involved in that school or in his curriculum. In martial arts, in just traditional arts, I don't see this that much unless you're talking about large organizations who have schools, hundreds of thousands of schools across the world. You know, I see more of this with them where they have the same mats, they have the same uniforms. You buy all your equipment from the home school, from the home organizations. But one in particular, I won't say the name of it, they've been bought out by a conglomerate of businesses that come together and have bought this one franchise out, and they've signed all these people to new contracts, and they have to abide by every single rule that you just said, just not the instructors teaching and they're paying them. But other than that, they're doing pretty much the same thing. So it, sort of that is in ways they are a pyramid scheme. I don't see it everywhere, but the large organizations, I'm pretty sure you guys could probably, if you thought about it for a second and do a quick search, you could name a few of them, that are out there that are humongous like this.
Without throwing anyone under the bus, I can say right now, Chuck Norris talks about in his book when he sold all his schools, they became a huge international organization. And when he sold it over, he talked about how he sold it over to the investors. He didn't like what they were doing because they were doing a lot of investor stuff, as he said. And eventually, because of money problems, he finally sold the whole branding to them and stepped out. And no longer, he no longer vouches for what they do. But yeah, maybe you're onto something as far as when you get to a certain point in your organization, and like Kyle was saying, now we're talking about businessmen, entrepreneurship, not martial arts, right? And that's why it's awesome that you guys got together to tell you that. Go ahead and finish your thought, Claude. Sorry,
but
Claude.
let me tell you though.
Sorry.
The Taekwondo has it locked down when it comes to the pyramid scam. Those guys are no joke. If you sneeze, they'll charge you $200 for that tissue. It is no joke. It's no joke. I'm telling you right now, these guys, because I was teaching grappling at a Taekwondo school, this dude was like, okay, we had meetings every week. Okay, if you want to belong to the Little Dragons program, to wear the black pants, that's an extra $200 a month. And parents were paying it. If you want to belong to the Dragon Cyclone team, which you wear a red top. Now you wear the black pants with the red top. That's an extra $150 on top of the regular $200 fee that you're paying already.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you want to do the ninja program, which they teach you a weapon every month for the year, and you got a patch every month, that's an extra $100 extra a month. So now you're paying like almost $2,000 a month for this one kid.
Yeah.
Don't forget the belt test.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
Belt test.
And the wood that you break is $20 a piece.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to talk about pyramids, the Taekwondo people, and people pay it.
Yeah,
and
they
people
do.
pay
it. People are paying $2,000 a month per kid for real.
Mm-hmm.
And like Carlos just said, Taekwondo has it down, and won't say specific organizations, but there's three big ones.
I'm seeing it with
there's
my own eyes.
There's 3 big ones, and they make off of one kid, they'll make $2,000 to $3,000 a month off of one kid.
And there's people with 2 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big money grab, and those corporations coming in and buying them up. I understand, and I just put a little disclaimer out there for the people that sell these and are perpetuating these organizations. If somebody's offering you $60 to $100 million to buy your agency, I understand why they sell them. I understand, but damn, it just for the people like the guys on this panel here that train for the love of training, that have fought, been in the ring, or MMA, what have you. And it's a different world for us. It's a different world for us, and it holds a different value. And we want to share that with the world. They see dollar signs. We'd love to all make millions of dollars teaching martial arts. Okay. Unfortunately, you can make a great living if you get something that catches on. However, making those millions and millions of dollars, it's always going to be that money grab out there, and somebody's going to take it. It's going to be that the few agencies out there, because not every agency organization can do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as a wrap up, you as a listener watching this, thank you for watching. What are your thoughts on this? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? As you saw at the end of this conversation, we all agreed that we don't like it, but we also agreed that it's a very successful business strategy. I mean, if you're the guy at the top, this is only a problem for the people at the bottom. And we also concluded that people will pay. Like, what's that say to you, to that person that's teaching out of the garage, charging $5 like I do? I don't charge my garage, but I try to keep things reasonable. I don't charge that much because it's not my main business. There are people out there who will pay way exaggerated amounts. So there's got to be a balance, right? You can't exactly
listen. It happens in church.
Yeah.
You see people starving to death. They're starving, but they're gonna give this guy that's driving a Lamborghini the last $20. You see it all. You see it in church. Perfect example. And they go every week, 3 times a week. I can't eat. I can't eat. I'm about ready to get kicked out of my apartment. But here's my last $20.
It's true.
Yep.
So people, that's true.
Yeah. So people do pay it. So that's something you can kind of hopefully mull around in your head and throw your opinion there on YouTube. Share with your friends. Have this discussion, because I always feel like discussion is where we can all sit there quietly and grumble. And this is why I love the podcast. We can sit there and attack each other online, but it's a lot better to have this conversation face to face. So hopefully you can grab this discussion. You can think about it. You can put a few comments on YouTube, talk about it, but also talk about it to people you know. Like Carlos said, hopefully this gives you an idea of what kind of questions you should be asking. So I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to Claude Lawson one more time, Carlos De La Valle, and Carlos Rozewski for coming out. Thank you so much. And this has been another episode of Social Jello with Angelo podcast. One of these once a week. Stay tuned, and I'll catch you all next time.